The man run the lunchroom, he told me, he said, I got somebody that brought a pig in here last night. I said, what? A pig that's running loose here in this dining hall. They catch a possum or something out on the street, bring it in here and turn it loose. I'm Buford Noland. It's my brother Harold Noland.
And I'm Harold Noland. This is my brother Buford. We had 9 kids, and he's the third oldest, and I was the baby of the bunch. I worked at Norwood Assembly plant starting in 56 for 3 months, and then come back in 57 and stayed there till the plant was closed in August of 87. Had 30 years and 2 months when I retired.
I started in 53. I just come back from war. I was overseas over 3 years, and I came back home and run around Norwood trying to find jobs and put an application in for GM. And I got a job at the box factory up here on Beach Street. And I worked at Globe Warnke out here was that time, was making TVs. I worked there for a while. And then when I put an application in for General Motors, and they called me to come in for a physical. So I came down here, went for a physical, and they hired me. And at that time, we was building school buses, building big vehicles in here, truck line. Then we started building cars. They had the 2-piece hood. Me and another guy was making up that hood. You had to bring your little seal over and lay it down the hood. Then you bring your half over, and I had a riveter overhead, handful of rivets, and you rivet that hood together. And then in 54, they come out with a 1-piece hood, which I was glad to see.
Well, I had graduated from high school, and I'd already worked there 3 months the year before. I had come there, like I said, in 56 during my school vacation, and I had a boss, his name was Dutch Hawk. And when I got ready to go back to school, I said, Dutch, I got to go back and graduate, get my diploma. I said, can you give me a leave of absence? And he said, no, but I'll guarantee you a job when you come back. So when I graduated, I went back in 57. Stayed there, got married, and married a wife and had a couple of kids. And he had like apartment building when I got married, and like a 2-family apartment building. And I rented from him for a long time till I bought my first house. I stayed with him and paid him rent till I bought my first house. And then after that, we raised our family, and I think we've owned this as our 3rd house, and we live in Clermont County now. Probably been there for 40 years and probably stay there, you know. But that's how I got there. I needed a job, and we both from large families. We had 9 in our family, and things was hard back in
4 boys, 5 girls.
40s and 50s, you know, back then. So we was glad to get a job, something you'd have an income and something you could depend on to raise your family and have something, you know.
This plant was built in 22. General Motors over here, 1922. I talked to some of the guys that worked here at that time. They didn't have assembly lines, they had chain. They'd hook on a vehicle and pull it from one work area to the next workstation. There wasn't no, like you said today, assembly line, a conveyor line. They had to do it with a chain. And I talked to some of those guys go home and they'd fall in behind a stove. Norwood, most of Norwood had heaters, not furnaces, heaters. And they'd find him fall in behind them heaters, never pull their clothes off. They said tired, they go to sleep. They had to work hard those years. And they set the sample for us, and the way that we traveled and what we did in this plant, a lot of it was set there long before we got here.
When I was there for 3 months, we used to stamp the cereal plates, body cereal plates. I had a machine that I stamped them for each car, and they welded them on, you know. But later on with IBMs, they finally found a way to machine do it, you know. But I stamped them by hand, the cereal plates, when I went back to school. And then when I come back, I got in production, and I worked like 3 years on the production, putting parts on the car. And then I thought, well, there ought to be something easier to do, so I put in for inspection. And I had 3 years seniority, so I got inspection, and I stayed in inspection. When I was in inspection, I was to write up the defects of the car, you know. Whatever I seen wrong, a bolt out, or wheel nut shy, or whatever, I'd write it up. And then later on, I got enough seniority to get in what they call final car and body inspection. That was inspected after the repairman had done his job. And then I had a punch, I'd punch it off. If it was okay to ship, if it wasn't, I'd make put YET, Y-E-T on it, and send it back to the repairman to do over, you know. So that's my job, to see that the repair work was done properly before the car was shipped. I owned the 55. I never did own a 57. I had a 55 and a 58. But yeah, I still buy GM products. I've got a Chevy Impala, which I'm really proud of. It's been defect free. I haven't had any trouble with it at all. And I drive a Saturn. Just for the mileage right now, it's cheaper to where the gas prices is. And I got an old 92 Chevy truck that I'm restoring. It's a 350 V8 with dual exhaust and all that stuff.
Well, I've had a lot of vehicles. I used to go out back, look around, find one in the back, and I'd go back and find a Chevy that I liked. I'd go up to the office, put in for it, and they'd call me, "Your car ready."
What he's talking about is buying company cars. The officials, you know, the bigger, like superintendents or whatever in Fent, they get a new car and they drive it for 3,000 miles. And then when they got 3,000 miles on it, they would sell it at a reduced price, and he would buy one of them at one of the officials had drove as a demo, you know. You get a better price on it.
Yeah, and most of the time we knew the guy had been driving it. And if he found out he or I was going to buy it, he would take extra care of it. And every evening when he brings that car in of the morning, he drops it off and they service that car all day. Put down the mileage and everything on it. It's well looked after. But I was a Buick man. I like Buicks. I used to go to Shop Leopard Buick in Norwood and buy my cars. My son, I had a Roadmaster. He drove to California and back a couple times. But right now I got a GM truck. I got 12,000 miles on it, and I got a 65.
No, it's not a 60. It's the 2006
Pontiac.
2006.
2006 Pontiac.
G6. You got a G6 Pontiac.
I got a V6, and I'm driving it. It just turned 60 miles. Ain't 60 yet, is it?
No, 59,000.
59,000 on it. I helped build, not the Buick. We didn't build the Buick. We built the Pontiac, the Firebird. Chevrolet was our business. And Fisher Body across the track, they made the parts and we brought them across the track and assembled them. That was our job, assembling them. And I was final car body inspector. It would depend on me when I shipped that car out of here, if it's going to Wheaton, Allen, and Dayton, or going to Canada, Alaska. It was my job to ship that car and make sure it was good shape. And that's the thing you had to fight all the time, make sure you had a good car. Because you're getting letters back every day from the dealers complaining about their faulty work. And that's hurting us. So I just hung in there. I retired out of final car body inspector. I went in the inspection department about 15 years before I retired. I retired in '84, in January of 1984. I've been retired quite a while. I was born in 1923.
Yeah, well, everybody had a nickname. I was heavy duty. They just hung it on because I was a little heavy, I guess. We had a lot of fun. We worked hard, but we had a lot of fun. We'd pull pranks on people and stuff like that. We had one guy that drove cars where we worked, and he was afraid of snakes. And we'd get something that looked like a snake and throw it down, and he'd start dancing. We'd laugh at him. Stuff like that, you know, little pranks, little innocent pranks, nothing bad, you know.
We had a band in the shop, and I used to be the MC, get jobs for us outside the plant. So they were good, still good. But I went up to the lunchroom, and the man run the lunchroom. He told me, he said, I got somebody that brought a pig in here last night. I said, what? A pig that's running loose here in this dining hall. I want you to catch that pig. I'll get somebody to run that pig down. But I don't know how that pig got up there. We was the second floor. The dining hall was the second floor, and they had to bring it up in a bag or with a rope. But he used to tell me how many you got in the band, and I'll have you guys a steak today. And I said, okay. He said, catch that pig, get rid of it. Stuff like that, like he's telling you, they brought stuff. They catch a possum or something out on the street, bring it in here and turn it loose. Had a lot of fun. Just every day, just another day. I worked 30 years. After I left, Harold stayed on, another 2 years?
So about that.
They got a new contract. For me, it was a kind of a pleasure. I'd come in and I'd meet these guys. You get acquainted with these guys, you know. You see them every day, and they come very close to you. And they tell you some of their problems. And believe me, they have problems. And you try to help them solve them if you can. But you get to where you look forward to seeing them the next day and find out how they're progressing, how the family's doing. And it's just it's a brotherly love thing throughout our whole system, because we got along good with the guys in the plant. So I tried to.
We belonged to the union, and if we had a problem with the foreman that we couldn't work out, then we get a union steward involved, and they would negotiate with the company, you know, and we'd work out a suitable solution for everybody. That's the way we solved our differences, you know. If we thought we had too much work or something going wrong, then we'd call the committeeman. He'd talk it over with the management, and they'd work out a deal, and that way we handled our business. General Motors was good to us. We both done well. We both have our homes paid for, and my kids, of course, are grown and got families. I got grandkids, and they're doing good too. So
Yeah, I have.
Lord has blessed us in more ways than one, you know.
Brothers on the Line. What a great story, and what a great couple of hardworking guys. Many thanks to Harold and Buford Noland for sharing some of their story with us so we could bring it to you. We're in search of the automotive world's best stories, and we're determined to bring interesting history, engaging profile pieces, and captivating documentaries to you right here on this channel. So the biggest thanks goes to you, the viewing audience, for showing us your support by viewing, sharing, liking, and subscribing. And if you like the content we're producing, please tap the like button and leave a comment. Subscribe for new regular content, and share this video with anyone else you know that's into anything automotive. And in return, we'll continue to make the very best content we can. These interviews come from a larger documentary project we're creating about the GM Norwood Assembly plant that was in Norwood, Ohio. It was the birthplace of the Chevrolet Camaro and the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. It also happened to be the first expansion plant that GM built outside of Michigan, the first plant that produced cars for GM 24 hours a day, the first to use robotic welding. The list goes on and on. It's an important piece of history, and we're bringing that story out with your continued support. So if you're interested in checking out more about that particular documentary project, go to norwoodlegends.com. And if that website ever changes or updates to a different URL, we'll put that in the description below. I know they worked hard, but it must have been an awful lot of fun to work alongside your brother building some of the world's most popular sports cars. Tell us what you think about Harold and Buford's story in the comments below. And again, thanks for watching.